Have you ever noticed that many of our actions can be described more than one way? Like this action. What is this action? Some of you might say, I'm waving, I'm saying hello. Some of you might think, oh, you're putting in a bid at an auction. You've seen movies and TV shows where people do that by accident. Maybe I'm voting. Maybe somebody said, how many people are in favor? Maybe I'm hailing a taxi. Or maybe I'm just trying to get to the airport on time. If we asked these people who were crucifying Jesus, what is it you're doing? How might they answer? Some of them might say, I'm just doing my daily job. You know, we clock in the morning, and we clock out in the afternoon. Others might say, well, we're just following orders. You know how it is. Your boss tells you to do something, you don't even think about it, you just do it. Others might say, well, we're giving a criminal what he deserved. Others might say, well, we're doing a favor for the high priest Caiaphas and his buddies. Do you think any of them would have said, we're executing a holy and righteous man who has been no threat to anyone? Do you think some of them might have said, oh, we're killing the incarnate Son of God, the rightful ruler of the universe? Do you think any of them would have said, oh, I know exactly what we're doing. We are participating in God's plan to save creation and all of its inhabitants? Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. We see here that Jesus, in his suffering, seems to think that maybe they don't know what they're doing. That probably would have surprised them. Some of them probably were like the people in the parable Jesus had told earlier that week. The parable about the tenants of the vineyard. Some of you might know that story. Jesus says, once upon a time there was a landowner, and he built this vineyard, and he rented it out to some tenants. And after a while, he sent a messenger to him and said, it's time to pay your rent. And they beat him up and sent him away. So the vineyard owner sent another messenger, and they beat him up too. And the vineyard owner kept sending messengers to get his rent, to get what was due him for his ownership of the vineyard. Some they beat, some they killed. Jesus says, finally the vineyard owner said, I know what I'll do. I'll send my son. They'll respect my son. So the son goes, and as Jesus tells the parable, the renters of the vineyard, the tenants said, hey, this is the son. If we kill him, then the vineyard's ours. It sounds like they know what they're doing. How can we look at these people crucifying Jesus and not imagine that they know what they're doing? How can we be surprised? Well, maybe it surprises us because we always know what we're doing, right? We do something and somebody says, what do you think you're doing? And we have a ready answer. If we're asked to give an account, we can explain, we can rationalize, we can justify all day long. But maybe if somebody asks us to give an account, maybe even if we wonder ourselves, say 5 years down the road, why did I do that? Maybe by that time we start to think, maybe I didn't know what I was doing. Maybe the reasons that I thought were so good were not really so good. Maybe I only thought I knew what I was doing. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Though according to Jesus' words, these guys did not have a full understanding of what they were doing. Surely they had enough understanding to know that there was at least something wrong with it. Maybe what they were doing was an act that would require forgiveness. Maybe there was some sense in which these people who were crucifying Jesus were on autopilot, controlled by the forces of the world, the flesh, or the devil. Maybe they were driven by and operating in accordance with a way of life in rebellion against God. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Jesus loved these people that killed him. Jesus loved these people whose actions got him there on the cross. Pilate and Caiaphas. Yeah, we'll blame them. What about Judas? Oh, what did Judas do? Judas is the one that turned Jesus over. Judas, his friend who betrayed him. Jesus loved him. And Peter? What did Peter do? Peter denied him how many times? 3? No, I don't know the man. Jesus loved Peter. Jesus loved sinners. Jesus loved sinners and took their sin. Jesus took our sin upon himself. Paul puts it this way: God demonstrates his own love in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Do you notice the identity claim there? God demonstrates whose love? His own love. How does God demonstrate his own love? By Christ dying for us. Christ, the one we know as Jesus of Nazareth, is not just some guy that happened to be a good teacher, not just some guy that happened to be hapless and run out of his luck there in Jerusalem that day. This Jesus that's hanging on the cross is the incarnate Son of God, God in the flesh, God become one of us. It's this very person, Jesus, the Son of God incarnate, who says while he's hanging there dying, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. At no point was Jesus surprised by what they did. At no point did Jesus say, oh my, I never thought they would do that. And yet Jesus looked at those guys. Jesus looked at that crowd. Jesus looks at us and says, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Can you imagine Jesus saying that of us? Can you imagine Jesus saying that to you? Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Tonight, are we willing to have Jesus say that about us? Are we willing to hear what Jesus says when he says, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do, and accept his interpretation of us as true? Are we willing tonight to take up his forgiveness, to receive it without offering any defenses, any rationalizations, any justifications, but to just say, Lord, here I am, a sinner. I receive your forgiveness in my empty hands that I open before you. We can decide tonight how we're going to respond to the Jesus who loves us, the Jesus who died for us, and the Jesus who says of us, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Lord, I thank you tonight for the forgiveness that your son Jesus pronounced over that crowd that day. And I thank you that his forgiveness was not just for them, but is for us. And I thank you that the life Jesus won for us on the cross and in his resurrection is entirely sufficient to see us through every day of this life and into eternity. Lord, tonight set us free from our fear, set us free from our rationalizations, our justifications, the stories we tell ourselves and others, so that we might receive that forgiveness that Jesus offers. Amen.